How do you do that?
Woody's at his age.
Welcome to an impromptu episode Sunday night, right here, Jets Afterburners podcast. Your host, Dan, right here. Liam is off for the night. We have a special guest here, a guy that I have been trying to fish out of water for the longest. I finally got him, Mr. Paul Fiore from Jets Talk Now. Again, his channel is in the description below, so don't feel shy. Head over to his channel, hit the subscribe button. Welcome aboard, Senor Paul. What's up, man?
Thanks. Yeah, not much. I'm excited to finally connect. I mean, it's like we were saying, I didn't, like X is such a weird app these days. Sometimes I've seen messages that came over 6 months earlier and I never came through. And then there are ones that it's just kind of chaotic these days. So I'm pumped that we were able to connect and I was able to come on tonight. So looking forward to chatting. We're back. Football's back. And thank God.
It is absolutely, man. This has been a whirlwind of an off season for the New York Jets. If you think about it, before the off season even started, fire Glenn, kick everyone out the house, just clean everything and start brand new. McDermott is out there, get all right, quarterback. Just tank, and it's all good. 2026 is going to be a whole wash. Then something's happened, and that was the draft. What a draft it was. And then the free agency. You started, picking up some players. There's something to look forward to, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because if I go back to last year, I'm a longtime diehard Jet fan. I love AG. I didn't want him to be the head coach just because I was in a position and my mindset was where we are as a fan base, get me someone that has experience, preferably on the offensive side of the ball. But they hired him and then it just got off to such a terrible start. I'll be honest. I was one of those people when they were 0-7 saying, just, lose out. Like at that point, I was kind of there was no point to me at that where we were. We traded Sauce, we traded Q. I was like, they might as well just lose everything. But when they made those decisions, I was of the mindset, Glenn's not going anywhere. Because once you start moving those pieces out, it was clear that they were doing this with a rebuild in mind.
Right.
Fast forward through kind of the end of the year and into the off season, I had done a pod right before the draft, and I had done I did a mock, and I mocked Sadiq to the Jets in that pod because I was like, you know what? Like I want a pass catcher. It doesn't necessarily need to be a wide receiver. And I love the guy's like physical skill set. And so for the fact that the Jets were able to do not just that, but also come back at the end of the first round, get Omar Cooper Jr., who was a big fan of, and then Pons in the second round. For me, it's like listen, I'm a skeptic at this point because I need to see results before I'm like all in. But you can't say with the first 4 picks in the draft that the Jets didn't nail it. Even if you didn't want David Bailey at front, I mean, it was hard to argue that David Bailey wouldn't be a good pick. And I mean, yet to be seen, but early signs indicate that, he's got an insane motor. He's got a great first step. He seems like a really intelligent kid, which, that's an important part of being a good football player is being a student of the game. So I'm kind of pumped to see what those 4 guys bring. And I think I think there's a good chance that Pons is going to be like a breakout star this year on the defense.
I think so as well, especially learning from a guy in Aaron Glenn who was drafted in 94 out of Texas A&M, 5'7". I'm not even going to give him the luxury of 5'8", 5'7". I remember watching him play, and then the Jets drafted him, and I'm like, no, this is – and we traded up with the Saints to get him. I'm like, oh, my goodness. The guy became stellar.
Yeah.
And, you know, the New York Jets have been known in their history for cornerbacks. You think about it. James Hasty, Eric McMillan, Aaron Glenn, Revis,
Right.
Sauce. I mean, the little that we known about him. And I think Pons is going to fit perfectly because he has that kind of demeanor.
Yes.
That in your face, let's play man. I don't care how tall you are. I'm going to trust my free safety in the event I do need some help. But mano a mano, I'm going to play as physical as possible with you. And he showcased that in Indiana.
100%.
Especially against Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at this Dante kid as quarterback, and we're like, all right, that guy's going to be our franchise quarterback. He's going to declare. Smart guy. He went back to school. But at that point, Pons intercepted a ball right for a touchdown. He made his name known. Now, let's go back with David Bailey. I mean, to me, I posted the thread, the thumbnail, where it might cause a little bit of controversy, but I firmly believe in this. Same thing as the Jets have been good throughout their history with cornerbacks. They have been stellar at rushing the passer. You have David Bailey, who I think was the absolute best pass rusher in all of football, coupled together with Will McDonald. Do you see a world where each of these guys this year could average anywhere from 12 to 17 sacks each?
Wow. It's a big number. I'm not sure. So here's my issue. Like, I like Will McDonald. I need to see more on Will McDonald because last year, he had one game where he had 3 sacks, and then he pretty much didn't do much most of the season, right? He was pretty now understandably, the Jets defense was at a disadvantage because the offense was so bad, and they were behind so much that like pinning your just going after the quarterback wasn't really in the cards. So, and I also thought Steve Wilkes was awful at the job.
Horrendous.
I think Bailey, like, to me, I've got a little bit of I'm looking at Bailey as a guy that is going to be somewhere between. And it's his rookie year, and so you just got to look at history on rookie seasons, and even great guys like Myles Garrett. If he does anything north of 8, I think he could be anywhere between 8 to 11 sacks this year. Like, I think that's probably, which I think would be an incredible rookie year. My number one thing with him though is I want to see the guy on the field 60% of the time, and I want to see him develop into not just what Will McDonald to me has been, which is almost like Will McDonald's been like a pass rush specialist who hasn't played the run well. Right. And so I'm hoping that Bailey, because of his, again, early indications are in training camp, he's doing a nice job staying home. He's reading the run better than what you would expect. I'd like to see him be a complete football player. Between the two of them, if we're being honest about it, like, McDonald should be a double-digit sack guy. So, 18 to 20 probably between the two, I think, is a realistic expectation. I think 24 to 30 might be a bit, like, that might be super optimistic to me.
So the only reason why I'm pushing back just a little bit is because of the expectation. Drafting Bailey at 2nd overall, sky's the limit. There is there's no ceiling. At that point, I'm expecting off the bat 10 sacks. Like, that's exactly what I'm looking at. Like, anything less than that, it's like we should have gotten Arvell Reese. And if Arvell Reese has 16 sacks, let the argument begin. Yes, it's just year 1, year 2, year 3 can bring other things. But that, to me, like, if Bailey can garner you 15 sacks, that means it leaves Will McDonald on an island, one-on-one, and that edge speed that he has, it can easily eclipse another 12 to 13 sacks. Would I
Yeah, I
love
mean,
20 sacks a pop? Sure. But it's got to be to the point where I'm expecting that Bailey is going to knock it out of the park.
I think Bailey's going to be a really listen. I actually am excited about Bailey. But again, I was just looking at it while you were talking. You know, the record is what 14 and a half sacks by Curse in his rookie year. You know, and then you got Micah did 13 in his rookie year. You know, but then after that it falls down, right? So I think Bailey is, again, I to me it's like if he's north of 9, if he's like 9 to 11, I think that's a really damn good rookie year.
Right.
And to your point, I think sky is the limit. Now, a lot comes into that though, because like you need to be playing from ahead to truly get the benefit of that pass rush. Because if you're playing from behind, like the Jets have been playing from behind all year last year, right? You wind up in a position where, you know, they're going to run the ball down your throat and your offense becomes one-dimensional. And next thing you know, you're giving up a ton of points. So like for me, if he has that type of season, that might be predicated. If he does like what you're hoping for, McDonald does what he's hoping for, that's probably because the offense was significantly better than what maybe people think it will be. Because I think you'll be playing from ahead. And when you're playing from ahead, that's a very different mindset when you're able to get to the quarterback. You can really start teeing off.
Right. No, you bring up a good point. I see where you're coming from. It. How I look at it is you have Frank Reich on the offensive side. Aaron Glenn finally taking the reins. All right. There's no excuse whatsoever. I look at it as a two-headed monster. Like each group wants to take over the game. Like, yes, we all would like for them to work as a unit. Kind of like the 80s. I'm not comparing the 86 Bears at all, the 85 Bears, not at all. But history showed us in that season that Buddy Ryan had his own little team running stuff. And then you had Mike Ditka, right? Running kind of the offense. And it was separated. I kind of feel like Glenn is going to be just so focused on the defense, rightfully so, because you look at this offensive line, this defensive line, Harrison Phillips, Mozzie Smith, Devondre Sweat. Then you have Kingsley and Agbari.
Yep.
And now Onyemata as well. Now you're adding Bailey with a guy that's already coming into what, his 4th season in Will McDonald?
McDonald's in year 4, yep.
Year 4. They know that they have to level up. And that's the beauty of this whole entire season as well. Not to just jump off course here, but there is no expectation for the season. It's not like when we had Rodgers, like, all right, we're going to go to the playoffs. We're going to go here. We're going to win. Nobody has absolutely no clue on what the Jets have. And that, to me, is part of the arsenal that the Jets have within this defensive line, especially having David Bailey.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I actually agree with your point regarding kind of Aaron Glenn, his role, and essentially it's a two-headed monster, right? Like, I think, you know, I saw a lot of commentary. Well, Glenn brought in his replacement with Frank Reich because when they fire Glenn, Reich's going to take over. Frank Reich is good friends with Aaron Glenn. Like, I don't know if people understand. Like, these guys have a personal relationship. Frank Reich he doesn't need this job. He's got plenty of money. He took this job because he's trying to help his friend out. And I think he believes that he can actually make a difference. And I don't think, you know, when you bring in a guy like Frank, who's got as much experience as he has, it makes a ton of sense if Glenn is going to be the defensive play caller, that he can just focus on what he is, you know, what I guess his superpower is, right? Which is, you know, calling plays. And then he can trust a guy like Reich. He wouldn't have trusted, and he didn't trust Tanner last year, right? And so you've got that. And then I think what they did was kind of, you know, and again, I think their grand plan, whether it works out or not, we'll see. But bringing in Seth Ryan as kind of that passing game coordinator to kind of be an apprentice under Reich, makes a ton of sense to me, right? Because if it works out and Glenn saves his job, and I do think he's on a hot seat this year, I disagree with people who say he's got year 3 kind of locked, that Woody loved him so much. I don't believe that at all.
No, I agree.
I do think that the plan here is Glenn calling the defense, focusing on that, handing the offense to Reich. Well, Reich mentors Seth Ryan. They find their QB in the draft for the future next year. Reich does a 2-year kind of gig as the OC, and then they hand it to Ryan. I think that is what I think they're trying to do, where you'll have continuity in the offensive scheme, and you've got the young quarterback who's been developed under the old guard of Frank Reich and Musgrave, right? And then Seth Ryan comes in. Like, that's what it feels like they're trying to do. So I wish they would have thought about that a little bit more when they did what they did in 2025, because it never made any sense to me when they hired Steve Wilkes. And then Glenn gave no input in the defense. That made absolutely no sense to me. So I'm hoping that, although it was kind of messy to get here, you know, with all the noise that was going on when they were looking for a DC, and then ultimately they fired Tanner late in the process, I think they landed in the right spot, which I think gives them zero excuses. It gives Glenn zero excuses. They've acquired enough talent now and senior leadership on defense that there's no excuse for them not to improve. What's that expectation? God knows, but it should not be what it looked like last year. If he's a good coach, this should not look like what it looked like last year.
1,000%. And that kind of what we do here on the show, we zoom forward into the future, and then we go back into the DeLorean and get back to this point. So as of right now, we're going to zoom, because on your last show, you spoke about Baker Mayfield. Now, it seems like they're heading for a horrible divorce. Because Baker Mayfield is one of those players that you just don't want to get him upset as an organization. And he will make it known that he will be not happy, and his frustrations are going to boil over. And it did. About 2 to 3 days ago, he shelled out to the media how disappointed he was that he did not get a deal. Now, do you see a world where if he becomes available, what do the Jets do to trade for him now?
Yeah, so this was I think this was some, he came out, he went scorched earth, which personally I think came across pretty petty. I don't think you do that.
Exactly.
But it's Baker. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's had a chip on his shoulder forever. And part of his allure and why you like him is because of that chip on his shoulder. But I think there was a different way to handle that. It was a bit, I would imagine it's a bit awkward in the locker room when you kind of do that, and the coaching staff. But anyway, so I saw that this week. I think it was Tiki who was like, yeah, you should try and make the move now. And there was a few people that were saying that. I don't think there's a world where Tampa Bay trades him this year. Todd Bowles is on the hot seat as much as anybody. They don't have another quarterback. So it's not like they can say, all right, Todd, let's trade the one guy that could potentially save your job, and we're going to just blow it all up. And, you know, thanks for playing. I just don't see it. I think he's going to be here. They have the ability to franchise tag him at the end of the season. Right. So the bigger question to me is if and when the season ends, and let's say he has a bounce back year from last year, because I think last year was a bad year. If you just think about it, now the offensive line was hurt. He was playing through some injuries. But let's say you can rewind and he does a season that's a little bit under 2024, but it's a very good year. Takes him to the playoffs. They get knocked out in the first round. He wants a long-term deal. They don't want to do it. They head for a divorce. What do the Jets do? I know a lot of people think that would be a great move. And I really like Baker Mayfield. I don't like him for the Jets. At 50, like, you would have to commit $50 million plus a year for probably 4 years.
Right.
So you're saying, all right, he's going to be 33 then. So you're going to commit his age 33 through 37 season at $200+ million a year guaranteed. and you're going to hope that he's going to now take you to the promised land because you're building this team to eventually get there, right? That's the goal. And if you look at his 3 seasons in Tampa, I mean, they were essentially they won a division at what, 9-8 or 10-7. They've basically been a slightly better than 500 football team in his 3 years there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be 33. If he was 27 and his play style wasn't, which by the way, I love his play style, but he's small. And so like, I worry, like, here's a guy who's going to be 33 years old going into 2027. He's a little bit on the small side. He plays fearless football. Will that lead to a significant injury? He played hurt last year because he was getting pounded. And so I just worry that that's not the right move for this franchise. Could I see the Jets doing it? I don't know, because give me the scenario where it would make sense. So let's play out the year. You wanted to fast forward. How many games did the Jets win? And Glenn, I think there's the only way they would have him. Let's just say this: Glenn would have to save his job and be into year 3.
Right.
I don't think a new coach would want to bring in a 33-year-old, 6'1.5" quarterback at $50+ million a year.
Correct.
So it would be Glenn saved his job. So the Jets won 7 to 9 games, let's say, right? Gino was, and they've decided we're going to move on from Gino, and and Glenn says we're a quarterback away from being a playoff team. Let's go make it happen. I struggle with believing that he would do that.
Right.
First of all, I don't think that's the type of quarterback Glenn would like, personality-wise.
Yeah, I agree. I agree to a certain point. Absolutely. I don't think that Baker would be in the cards. Across the board, I don't think so, especially with Glenn. I think you nailed it. They would not mesh well.
Right.
The one that's actually meshing well with Glenn is Geno Smith. And the reason why I put this on across the screen is because it does give me those vibes of 98. Again, so many people remember Vinny Testaverde being signed, and he's a has-been, man. Freaking guy was drafted with Tampa Bay, led the league in interceptions. He was just up and down. He never lived up to the Miami Hurricane quarterback. Then he goes to Baltimore. He had like a little bit of a revitalization career, and then all of a sudden, Parcells' second year, I think it was Belichick that chirped into his ear. He said, "You know what? We do need a backup quarterback. This guy's not that bad." All of a sudden, magic occurred. And let me be very honest here. And in the event you don't know this, I hated re-signing Geno Smith. Hated it.
Me too.
Because what I saw, that bad taste in my mouth when he was here as a rookie, and the broken jaw, babying, all this, I was like,
the immaturity. It was
the immaturity. And then last year, over there with the Raiders, you're like, all right, the Raiders own the number 1 overall draft pick, and we're getting a guy that was pretty much responsible for that because of his play. Then you really dig deep into it. Really wasn't all of his fault. The guy had Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. He sucked. He's horrible.
Terrible.
But if you have the right offensive coordinator, the right atmosphere, kind of like what the Seahawks had, hey, man, this might just freaking work, Paul. It might.
So I'm somewhere in between where you are, in that I was 100% not for getting Geno back for all the reasons you already named. So there's no even point. Last year, I went back after there was like, when they started talking about Geno, I'm like, there's no way they're bringing Geno back. Like it started happening. Like people like, oh, what about Geno? I'm like, no way. He left here. It was such a bad outcome. There's no way he's coming back to New York.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, maybe it's, and then I did a video about Derek Carr. I'm like, I don't know, what else could they do, and then it became a reality. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me go back and watch 2025 Geno and try to figure out What type of quarterback are we getting? And then I also looked at 2024 Geno, his last year in Seattle, because his 2024 season in Seattle on the surface was, he threw for 4,000 yards. It looked okay, but he did throw 15 picks that season.
Right.
And last year he threw 17. He also took 50 sacks last year. Granted, the offensive line was bad, and he had weapon issues all around the field. There injuries, they had all kinds of problems, and Chip Kelly sucked. I would still, in my mind, Geno still felt like he certainly had a part. He certainly he had his fair share of responsibility for last year's bad season. Namely, watching him throw into double coverage, watching him forcing and maybe not trusting what he saw. There was about, I'd say, of the 17 picks that I saw last year, I would put 7 of them on him. There were a couple of tips that weren't his fault. So I just thought, okay, how much of this can we just rewind and say we can bring Geno back to 2024, 2023 Geno?
Right.
I don't know. He's going to be 36. Their offensive line is good, I think. I don't love Myers at center.
Yep.
I was disappointed we didn't do anything about that, truthfully.
Totally agree.
There was a couple of times in the draft where I got frustrated, where I thought they could have drafted Lou or someone like that, and they didn't. So I was really excited about the early part of the draft, and then they went and got Klubnik in the 4th round. At the time, I was miserable about that pick. I feel a little bit differently today, but because I wanted a middle linebacker, I wanted a center. There were things I wanted. So Geno to me is going to be successful if Frank Reich plays to his strengths. And so for me, don't let Geno overthink things in the pocket and force the ball. He's got speed all around the field. The ball needs to come out quick. They need to be creative on offense. And if the offensive line gives him enough time where I think it could be good. What I worry about is I felt similarly about, I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be the savior. And what I saw with Aaron Rodgers was he still has the arm talent. To this day, he could still throw the ball with anybody, right? He still could do it. He doesn't want to take the hits anymore, right? So he gets the ball out so fast that it's almost like you worry that is Geno going to be gun shy? He took a ton of hits last year, and I just don't know. So I'm in this mindset of I think it'll be a lot better than it was last year. I think if we get 75 to 80% of what Geno was in his last year in Seattle, I think that's what my hope is at this point. Something like that. 3,500 to 3,800 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. Right. Try to find a way to minimize the turnovers. Play competent football, run the ball really well. I'm hoping he's not. It's 3 days in practice. He looked great on Saturday. I'm still in that mindset. I got to see it, man. I was so excited with Rodgers. And it destroyed my optimism for a while.
Right.
And so I'm looking at it from, I'm willing to support Geno. I didn't want him here, but hey, let's go. He's been good at the podium. He's been good in practice. Let's see what happens when there's game speed and guys are coming at him to hit him. That's what I'm concerned about.
One of the biggest things that I enjoyed, even though it's 3 days in, one of the biggest things that I loved the most right out of the back was when Aaron Glenn said, there's no slogans this year.
Yeah.
That's it.
Amen.
Done. And it's quiet. And that's very eerie and very weird as a Jet fan. Because as a Jet fan, there's always drama. There's always someone's getting slapped. Somebody's getting an STD. It's always weird stuff going on. Yeah. But now you're looking at this. We're going to focus on the offensive side of the ball. You got some playmakers there. You could absolutely move the ball. And now you have the studs on special teams coming back. I think if there was any silver lining from last year, that it could be transferred over to here, Give me that same special teams production, because if we're going to play field position against these top dog teams, I like our chances. I'd rather drive 50 yards as opposed to 80 or 90 yards or 70. Like Brees Hall and Braylon Allen. Hopefully Glenn has learned his lesson. Don't put your stars at kickoff return. Like, don't put Braylon Allen there. That was asinine. But he's back. He's fresh, good to go. If the offensive line can become cohesive, as I think they will be, especially with Frank Reich there, you can control the clock. And Brees Hall is going to come into his own. One thing I never liked about Brees is that he would fumble the ball a lot. I think he worked on that. He would have to, right? He wants an even bigger paycheck. How do you see the run game this year if all goes well with that offensive line?
I mean, it should be a strength. And to me, everything should come and play off of their run game, right? Like, you've got, aside from that, Omar Cooper Jr. is a really good blocking wide receiver. People need to realize that. You have the ability to be very, very creative on offense, and you have so many. Like, to me, your weapons are all fast. So when you've got that type of speed on the outside, and then you have a matchup nightmare in a Sadiq who runs a sub 4.4 at the tight end position, there's no way a defense should be able to just stuff the box on you and just destroy the run game. It was the most frustrating thing in the world watching the Jets the last 2 years. Last year, I think it was a little bit weird because they were down so much so often that it was almost like they had to abandon the run. And it was kind of crazy because they had a quarterback who couldn't throw a freaking 10-yard out. It was embarrassing.
Oh, my God.
Right? Like, so at least we don't have that this year. But, like, even when Rodgers was here, it made me crazy that they did not run the ball well. And it made no sense to me that they threw the ball so much. Right. And it was like they used the passing game to almost be the running game with Rodgers because he was throwing such short outs and stuff. So for me, I think the run game is the key to this whole thing. I'm hoping now that Brees has gotten paid, that his mindset and attitude is one that, the fan base has been so all over the place with Brees. I'll be honest, I was all over the place with Brees too. Some of his cryptic crap on Twitter makes me a little bit crazy. That was a little like a passive aggressive kind of mindset that would drive you crazy.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't blame him for feeling the way he felt. It's got to be hard losing as much as they've been losing. And then feeling like they abandon you as the lead back multiple times in a game. So, look, Frank Reich has forgotten more football in his pinky than I know in my entire brain. So, like, if you're Frank Reich, how are you not leaning into Brees Hall as your cowbell running back and then have tons of play action and using the speed you have on offense to be able to go deep and beat guys, off play action. So, like, I feel like, yes, I think the run game should be strong this year. I'm like I said, my biggest thing is I'm worried about center and guard. I don't know how, I think Parham will be better than Simpson, but I'm not sure how good he'll be. We'll see.
What about Inez Cooper? What if he makes a dent?
He's a big dude, man. He's big. I think what I read is he's a really good. So what I saw, I don't know much about him from Miami days, except I heard he's just kind of like he's a massive man who may be a little bit slow. I don't know. I don't know if he's, like their depth on the offensive line is not great. Like behind center, I think they've been having Newman take snaps behind Myers. You're not going to shift Tippmann back to center. I don't think
you can't do that.
You can't keep doing that. So those are the things you worry about a little bit. You can usually hide one guy who's subpar on the line. You just got to hope that Myers is at least adequate. And if he's adequate, then I think they'll be fine. Just got to stay healthy, which is I mean, offensive line staying healthy throughout the year. And last year we were lucky. After AVT went down in preseason, we were healthy all year. Just hope to God that happens again, because the depth is a little bit questionable right now.
Screw AVT.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
What a trash bag. So my whole thing is, all right, you have a run game. I just hope that the Jets don't play scared.
Right.
Don't time management, you have to protect the quarterback. And nah, man, we have so much firepower here. We got Garrett Wilson coming back healthy.
Yep.
A.D. Mitchell. All right, I think he can finally catch a ball. You got Omar Cooper, who I love that pick. Arian Smith, is he finally coming into his own? I hope so. Then you have on the tight ends, aforementioned Kenyon Sadiq, and then you got Mason Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, there is no excuse whatsoever that once we get into that red zone, that 7 isn't 80% of the time. Like, I'm done with, all right, 4 and out and kick the field goal. In order to change that culture at one Jets drive, you got to start scoring some touchdowns, man. Like, I'm so through with just saying, all right, accepting the mediocrity. All right, at least we got points, I'm done with that. I want touchdowns. I want points. I want turnovers. I want wins. Like, I'm sick and tired of this.
Look, I think the reality is, depending upon what kind of Geno we get, and look, I think a lot's going to depend on Geno's mindset and attitude too. Like, and it's coming across really good right now. I was definitely not feeling great about some of the stuff that was happening in the offseason. I'm like, dude, can we please? But, he owned it in his first press conference. That was really important. Inevitably, he's going to have a bad game. He's going to throw a couple of picks. What does he do? And, with the media, how does he interact with everybody? Please don't flip the bird to the fans like he did in freaking Vegas last year, coming off the field. Like, can we not do that? We're in our mid to late 30s now. Like, can we be a mature adult and understand what this fan base has been through, and understand that the questions that you're asking the media are literally doing their job, right? And that's why I was getting frustrated with Glenn last year, because he was getting confrontational for no reason.
Right.
He's been so much better this offseason, and I'm hoping that that's a sign of good things to come. When it comes to the offense, they need to fix what has been broken forever. Can we figure out 3rd and short, please?
Oh my
God. Please? Dude. Can we finally, not just run to the middle of the line and wind up it's 4th down? Okay, we got to, I don't understand when you have the talent. I mean, how many times are we watching games over the last couple of years? You're like, 3rd and short, they're going to come up. They're going to run it right to dead center. It's going to get blocked, and they're going to have to kick. It's just over and over and over again. I've watched this team, and the lack of creativity on offense makes you crazy. It's why, last year, I never understood the idea that they thought Justin Fields was going to be the answer. It just, unless you were going to make Justin Fields be, running quarterback 60% of the time, he's not a good pocket passer. After the first game of the season, he got a wallop in the second week. He got hurt. He took a hit against Buffalo, and it was like he became gun shy the rest of the season. Right. And so, to me, Aaron Rodgers, when he came here, right, he was such a polarizing figure here, and I think it's a little bit of shame, because I do think he wanted to win here. I do think he had the right intentions. The thing that the Jets screwed up, and the reason why it's going to work, it worked out better for Pittsburgh last year, and they'll probably be decent this year. They didn't give him everything he wanted. Exactly. And the Jets just literally handed him everything he wanted.
Everything.
And it was ridiculous, because there was no creativity in the offense. They gave him his offensive coordinator, who was a disaster. We need creativity and to play modern football. And if the Jets do that, and they play smart, and they play off of their run game, I don't see why the offense can't take a significant step forward. Because I believe the offensive talent is better than what our defensive talent is today. I think that the defense is still. I think that like they did what I wanted them to do this offseason. They brought in veteran leadership.
Yep.
They've got some really good anchor positions. Offensively, aside from QB, which you're going to need your franchise quarterback because Geno's a bridge. If you look around the offense, they need a center. They need their quarterback, but their running backs are strong. Their tight ends should be good. Their wide receivers are deep. Like that is a professional NFL offense.
Right.
This is a 2-year rebuild. They have a ton of cap space coming up next year. Build out the depth in the defense next year, right? Like to me, that's if you do those two things, then you should be able to be a consistently good football team. That's the way I look at it.
How many wins do you see the Jets? I know it's premature, and I was on one of these Jet spaces earlier this morning, and it ranges. One guy was like 2 wins, the other guy was like maximum 6. It doesn't go beyond 8 at all. And when you start looking at this schedule, let's take a gander, shall we? It's not that I want to say not that bad, because if you look at it, I'm going to blow this up here. Yeah. The first game of the season against the Titans, it's kind of a mirror image of us in essence. Okay, we have an edge because we have more experience.
Yep.
I could see the Jets winning that one and then having that momentum come back to MetLife. And MetLife is going to be, I said it on the other show, it's going to have that atmosphere if we're 1-0, just like we had against the Pats in 2009. It's going to have that because us Jet fans, we are pissed off, man. We are done with losing. And if we can steal one against a formidable team like Green Bay and we win, we start off the season 2-0, then at that point, we kind of can measure and start saying, all right, you know what? We can deal with these big time boys. And then Detroit and the Bears have at it. We go into the Cleveland game 2-2.
Right.
Then we go into New England, and New England will be New England until proven otherwise against the Jets. Right. All right. Then we play against Miami. And I'm sorry, for me, Miami is trash. I mean, that's how I look at it. They can have Malik Willis, whatever the case is. We could win that one. That's 3 wins. And then against the Raiders here at home, they're the ones traveling. We win. That's 5 wins right there. Chiefs, we lose. Bills, we lose. Chargers, we lose. Miami, we sweep them. And then here's the fun part. The Broncos, automatic, everybody just wants
to. So you have them,
here.
I think that's at the bye, you'd have them 6-6 is what you
said. 6-6. And then now we play against Denver, who we actually, for the past 2 years, with and without Aaron Glenn, we do pretty well against Sean Payton. We lose by dumb decisions.
Oh, that's true.
Right? Like it's not like they're blowing us out. Yeah. All right. We squeaked one. 7-6. Then the Cardinals, 8-6. Back to earth, 8-7. 8-8. 8-9.
Okay.
Like I could see a world like that where we win just enough games to get us out of the Arch Manning sweepstakes, which is, again, Arch Manning. I want to say he's going to be the next Eli Peyton. I don't know. But at the same token, I don't want to get into tank mode because I got my cards more into the Indianapolis Colts because I see them as a worse team than anyone's giving them credit for. I don't see Daniel Jones becoming what he was last year. I think he's going to suck. I honestly don't see them winning, more than 3 games. And it's going to be there. I'd rather build a nice nucleus, a good culture in that locker room. If it's 8-9, all right, we, as Jet fans, we had a taste of winning football.
What people don't understand, this is the thing, and it's funny, I was having this, I think I kind of became it was funny, I did a tweet earlier today because I had seen a bunch of people posting, the Jets yesterday, Geno didn't put the ball on the ground, he was perfect, and you have the forever optimists who are all excited, and then you have the forever tankers who are like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, and I'm sitting there going, okay, why on August 2nd are we even thinking about tank? Like, why are you not just like, isn't it better for your overall mindset to be rooting that the Colts are god awful this year? Because like if you look at the Colts schedule and you think about their actual roster and their coaching and how bad they finished the year, Colts. And Daniel Jones is coming off. Yeah, I mean, look at the schedule, dude. I mean, like Daniel Jones is coming off an Achilles, and before last year, before that, he was a scrap heap quarterback. How do we know that he's all of a sudden now figured it all out? Like, he's coming off that injury. So they play Baltimore, KC, Houston to start the season. Give me a win in those 3 games. Where?
I don't see it.
Right? Okay, they'll say they could beat Washington. Pittsburgh is going to be very good this year. Pittsburgh's reloaded weapon-wise. They're actually a good football team. Don't be surprised if they don't go out and win 11 games this year. I would not be surprised. Okay, Tennessee is going to be improved. That's still it's a division game. I think they're going to split the Tennessee games. You got to play Minnesota. You got to play Jacksonville. I mean, like that's a tough schedule.
Exactly.
The easiest games on this schedule are Miami, Cleveland, and I guess you could say Tennessee. But other than that, Jacksonville's a playoff team and a good football team. Cincinnati should be better. Philly's a good football team. The Giants should be better. Houston's a wagon. I mean, Baltimore is good. KC is good. Like, how are you seeing more than 5 wins out of that football team? Like I looked at it and I go, they're a 5-12 football team. I would take the under all day on them.
Right.
Now, people will lose their minds if the Jets go 8-9 and go, yeah, QB purgatory, went 8-9. We're not going to get Arch, the whole thing. And I look at that and go, okay, you have 3 first-round draft picks.
Yes.
If the Colts suck, that's a top 10 pick. Right. The Jets pick will probably be if they are listen, I don't have them winning 8 games, but let's just play that game and say they win 8 games. All right, so that's a 15 to 17 pick.
Yep.
And then you still have Green Bay, who's got Micah hurt, and who knows what with their issues, and then Dallas. So you're gonna have 3 picks, all probably between 15 and up, and you have all of your draft capital the year after. You mean to tell me if there's a quarterback that they like, they can't package enough picks to move up? Maybe you can't get to 1.
100%.
But there's going to be – everyone's all, well, look what happened this year. Only Mendoza was guy worthy of it. I understand that, but that's an anomaly. There should be, I think, 3 to 5 guys in this draft this year that will be first-round draft picks. That's my perspective. I love CJ Carr. I don't know if Mestamaker is going to come out. I think it's going to matter what he does this year.
I would love to get him.
But Mestamaker, I saw a lot of him. I live in Texas, and he played at UNT. Saw a lot of him last year. He's a big kid with a cannon for an arm. You've got Arch. You've got a few guys, and then who knows who emerges. So, like, what are we doing? Like,
exactly.
I see them winning. Like, so here's the thing. It would certainly be so much better going into week 2 with a win. Like, if you can find a way to win in Tennessee, that's not going to be an easy game. They're honoring Chris Johnson at halftime. It's going to be very emotional. There's all that stuff going on, right? Jets are going to, I think they're going to have a good amount of fans there, so that'll be good. But you don't want to go and lose that game, come home 0-1, knowing you're home against Green Bay. They travel well. Their fan base travels well, facing 2 back-to-back road games against 2 very good football teams.
No.
Because as optimistic as you can be, where you were like, they could be 2-2 after 4 weeks. I agree, they could be. At worst, they shouldn't be worse than 1-3.
Right.
But God forbid they lose week 1.
Oh my gosh.
There's a world where they could be 0-4, and then who the hell knows what happens, because it can spiral from that.
Paul,
I pray to God that's not what happens.
I agree. And I hope that does not happen. But what I see, the best case scenario for the Jets, the best, is that somehow, some way, this guy's our franchise quarterback. Let's say, like, this guy was supposed to be a first overall pick in 2025 had he declared. He would have been in the first round. You look at the comparison stats between him and Jackson Dart in 2024.
Yep.
Dart was drafted in the first round. If this kid, which I like what they're doing, right? Like finally we have a plan in place. Frank Reich really likes Cade Klubnik a lot.
Yes.
I like Nussmeier, but who am I? And it's fine. It's okay. I'm going to put my feelings to the side. I like Cade Klubnik as well because there's a plan in place for a young kid, and they're giving him all of the options to win the number 2, the backup role. That's huge. Yes, a lot of people want a veteran. But you know what? If this kid comes in and just blows it out of the water, he earned it. That's something that we have not heard of, right? Justin Fields comes in, automatic starter. He didn't earn shit.
Right.
It should have been an open competition between him and Tyrod. Whoever is the best one plays week 1.
100%.
No, it's never like that. Now it's Cade Klubnik versus Zappy and Cook. I mean, I could beat the others 2 out. But with that being said, if Klubnik, let's say, who knows? Let's play fantasy because I like where Mooj placed this franchise. Traded away Q, traded away Sauce, fan favorites, and said the future is brighter than right now, and it's going to get really ugly, guys. And it did. Now, if this kid comes in and we end the season, same thing, 8-9 with Cade Klubnik, do you still draft a quarterback in the first round, seeing what Klubnik did?
How many games does he play?
He plays about 10.
10 games. Okay.
10
well,
games.
If he played 10 games and the Jets go 8-9, I think you're going to have a good read on who he is. And so, I mean, are they pulling Geno because he got hurt, or like, is he just bad? Because I mean, 10 games. I see like, here's where I'm like, my mind is he's going to play. Because I don't think they're an 8-9 football team. I can see them winning 7. God knows I can see them. Unfortunately, I think the range is 5 to 7.
Right.
Is where I think the range lies. I think a lot depends on the first 2 weeks of the season, because
very true.
Right before that bye, they've got a gauntlet where they go through. I think it's Kansas City, the Chargers, and Bills. I think it's back to back to back.
Yes.
That is a gauntlet right there, right? And until the Jets actually go out and beat Miami, as bad as Miami is, I can't just chalk up a sweep to Miami. They should, but I don't know if we could even say they should, because they won 3 games last year. So again, it's a big wide range. Here's where I'm at. At the end of week 12, you have to buy. I don't think the Jets are going to be good enough to be in the playoff race at that point. Let's say they're 5-7 after 12 weeks. I can see a world where then would be when you might go to Cade. And so will 5 games be enough? The only way those 5 games would make you, I think, say we're all in on him is if they're 5-7 and they go 3-2 in their last 5. Teams that they're playing actually are playing to try to win games. It's not resting guys, and he looks really damn good.
Right.
That might be interesting. But I think it's going to be hard to not draft a quarterback in round 1.
Right.
Personally.
I like what he says. Yeah, we got to go for a quarterback round 1. Let them fight for the job. I was always a big Mike Holmgren kind of class thought. Always have so many quarterbacks. Like I never, what was it? Bill Parcells said, if you have 2 quarterbacks, then you have none. I call bullshit on that. I'm sorry. Because Green Bay, the Packers, before they trotted out Brett Favre, dude, they had Don Majkowski, Mark Brunell, Kurt Warner, Aaron Brooks, Ty Detmer. Did I say Kurt Warner? Probably I did.
Yeah.
And then Brett Favre.
Right.
All right. You know what? If one fails, the other one steps up. And Mark Brunell did pretty good with Jacksonville. Aaron Brooks did pretty good with New Orleans, and freaking Kurt Warner won Super Bowl. To me, you got to keep drafting. Keep drafting quarterbacks, kind of like what San Diego did with Breeze and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, people gave him shit for it, but the Rams went and drafted the quarterback at 16 this year, right? They drafted him to learn behind Stafford. Even if Stafford plays 2 more years, they believe that they've now drafted the guy that's going to follow. Kansas City did the same thing when they brought Mahomes in behind Alex Smith, right? Buffalo did the same thing with Tyrod Taylor, who, by the way, had a really good year the year before they brought in Josh Allen. They were a pretty good football team, and they went and got Josh Allen. In my mind, I think it's very hard to believe the Jets will not draft a quarterback next year in round 1. I just think it would literally have to be one of these really kind of wild situations where Cade Klubnik comes in because at the end of week 4, Geno's clearly washed. He's been terrible. They bring in Klubnik, and he's otherworldly, and you're like, oh my God, we got the guy. And it's hard to believe that would happen. Listen, I actually like what we've seen from him so far. I love what we've heard from him at the podium. Let's see what the kid's got. I'm actually excited to watch preseason football because I want to see him play.
Yes.
And usually I can't stand watching preseason football.
Totally.
It's painful.
Right.
But I think they're going to give him like 75% of the snaps. I think he's going to see a ton of action. So
doesn't he give you Pennington vibes? Just
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
The mindset, you know, his first press con. I graded that. Like I literally graded that pick in the moment. I think I gave them a D. I'm like, what are we doing moving up for Cade Klubnik right now? Like he'll be there in the 6th round. What are we doing? And then I saw the video and, you know, with him and Reich and him saying, get me the playbook. And he was all fired up. Right. And then his very first presser, he literally walked through step by step what happened that year and the perspective he gained from it and his mindset as a quarterback who's always been a winner. Right. And I watched that. I'm like, the maturity on him and how he just handled that was not a 4th round draft pick.
Right.
Like it came across so well. So, and that's how I felt about Pennington, by the way. Chad Pennington unfortunately got hurt because he was such a good, like the mindset mentality he had as a quarterback was what I want our quarterback to have to lead this franchise.
Right.
He was fearless, Chad, right? But he was intelligent. He was thoughtful and he was non-controversial. Chad was awesome, right? From just the pure mentality of everything. So I hope to God that Klubnik becomes that guy. At the very least, it'd be very cool if the Jets found their true backup QB2 in this draft. That's a massive win if that actually turns out to be true.
It's like, when is it our turn? Right. Like as football historians, we look back and we look at the Saints, man, they've sucked for so many decades. And then they found Drew Brees. Same thing with the Bengals. They were the Bungles, right? They were always the butt of all jokes. And all of a sudden, Joe Burrow takes them to the Super Bowl. And now with the Jets, people will say, well, you know, he's just a 4th round pick, you know? And all right, what about Brock Purdy? What about Brady? What about all these other quarterbacks? Russell Wilson in the 3rd. You know, why the freak not, man? You know, if there's any scenario, it would be this. Number one, he's not being rushed into action, meaning that the guy's on fire right now to win this starting job. He's been a starter for what, 4 years at Clemson? All he knows is to start. And the thing is, he had some big shoes to fill, man.
All he knows is to start, and all he knows to do is to win. He's been one of the most decorated guys. Like people forget, he came into last year as a consensus top 3 to 5 QB in that draft. People assumed he was going to be a top 10 pick. Some people had him being the number 1 quarterback.
Right.
So, you know, last year, I can't imagine what went through that kid's head. Like he said, he could barely walk. You know, and on non-game days, he had to take the elevator, I think he was saying, like to get to meetings, but he played through it. I think that takes a toll on you mentally. So I'm glad that he's not being thrust into action, and he's going to have an opportunity to learn. And he's got, Musgrave's been around forever. He's coached a ton of quarterbacks. That's a good person to have in the room with you. I hope he gets time before he gets thrown out there, because inevitably we as fans want Cade Klubnik to become our Brock Purdy, our Dak Prescott, our Tom Brady, because it's the Cinderella story. Everybody wants that. Remember the first shot of him in social media coming out in slow motion with the hair and the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
People went freaking crazy. Like, I get it, but the pressure that puts on this kid is what we like. I want to see. It would be an amazing story, but my expectation is more like, hey man, if this kid becomes a true QB2, what a home run for us.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. But yeah, I mean, dream the impossible dream. Why not?
I'm drinking all that Kool-Aid, and it's unfortunate because I know sooner or later it will manifest itself. Unless Geno starts off the year first 4 games at 14 or 14, 15 touchdowns. But I could see a world where, okay, Geno is Geno. Hopefully I'm dead wrong, because if you look at Aaron Glenn's kind of career, he always does well with journeyman quarterbacks, and then all of a sudden they take off. So I really hope that Geno has a great year and Klubnik is on the bench learning and getting that fire under him, saying, if I ever get my opportunity, it's a wrap. Kind of like what Brady did when Bledsoe went down. Like
the best thing for Klubnik would be that he plays maybe 2 or 3 games this year. That would be the best thing for his development. It'd be the best thing for the Jets, because that would mean that Geno is decent. There is a world where, and I talked about this the other day. I could see a world where Glenn pulls a holy shit Brian Daboll moment and turns to Klubnik early because Geno has been bad. Like, that would be a terrible thing to happen, but I could see it, because let's just say, God forbid, I can't help it. I got to do all the scenarios in my head, but God forbid the Jets get off to an awful start and they're 0-4, right? And now you're home against Cleveland. At that time, if Geno hasn't looked good, it's like he's playing for his job against Cleveland, because if you can't beat Cleveland and you don't look good, well, guess who else is now coaching for their job? And if Glenn is coaching for his job, the only way he saves his job in that situation is throwing the Hail Mary pass of, I bring in Cade Klubnik and holy crap, we got it right. And he's a savior. And I don't want that, because I feel like we've done this too often. Every quarterback we draft, every quarterback that we've brought in, including Rodgers, is the savior. And it's like, can we not be the savior quarterback? Can we be the quarterback we plug into a system that has been built, and we need you to be a good game manager, and then you can become a great quarterback long-term? Like, let's build the pieces around the quarterback to make sure that we can protect and insulate that, and not be the fan base that's like desperate for our Tom Brady. I want that, but it makes the situation. Do you remember last year when they didn't draft a quarterback and Brady Cook was the guy we got as an undrafted free agent? I was losing my mind. I'm like, why didn't we go after Tyler Shuck? Why didn't we take a shot at all these different guys? I had a list of guys I wanted them to, Will Howard, all these different guys. I wanted them to at least take a shot at somebody. And I posted something about it, and someone said to me, we've got our Tyler Shuck. We got Brady Cook. And I'm like, are you crazy? Like, he's an undrafted free agent for a reason. And then remember when they said they were going to start him, you had people, and I saved the receipts. I'm never going to do it. But like, people were like, I bookmarked all these things, giving me crap about how good Brady Cook was going to be and how unfair it was in the beginning when it wasn't going well. It wasn't his fault. And I'm like, are we serious right now? God awful as a quarterback.
Right. But like, if you look,
take shots at quarterback.
You have to. And that's why, like, if you look at what the Jets have right now, you have firepower everywhere, how we alluded to earlier. You have an offensive line that is stout. Let's be real and call a spade a spade. Cade Klubnik is Aaron Glenn's wild card. It's his wild card. He's not going to use it unless it's necessary, and he's not going to use it late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting for his job, fellas. Aaron Glenn, this is a year that if he does not showcase any kind of improvement, and what I mean by improvement, to me, the benchmark number is 7 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Anything below that, even at 6 wins, it's going to make Woody think.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if the Colts are really bad and they land them, the number 1 overall pick. Because at that point, you could easily clean house and say, all right, McDermott is out there, Tomlin's out there, or whoever shakes free.
Davis Webb is out there, whoever it might be. Right?
Whoever it is. All right, we have a shot at Arch Manning or whoever the hot commodity is. He's going to revamp the whole thing. That's why I think Aaron Glenn is like, I can't die in a hill with Geno Smith. I can't do that. Like you in your scenario, 0-4, you can't trot Geno.
If you're 0-4 because your defense has been bad, that's different. But if you're 0-4 because Geno's been god awful, I don't put anything behind Glenn at that point. I really don't. Because to your point, the Jets are going to have $100 million in cap room. They're going to have 3 first-round draft picks. They're going to be an attractive destination. Woody's going to have to pay out of the ass. He's going to be 80 years old. There's no way he's going to sit there if this team wins 5 games and say, go get the quarterback now, AG. I trust you. Like it's not going to happen. I don't think he gets fired during the season. I think that lesson's been learned, that's a disaster of an idea.
Right.
But I agree with you that I think anything less than 7 wins, I mean, okay, if you go 6-11 and you lose a couple of games that were really close and that were entertaining, and it's clear that you just need the quarterback, maybe you can argue that Glenn could stay. Mm-hmm. But I think that's still 50-50. I think you got to win 7 games. I think you got to.
I couldn't agree more because it's something where it could all blow up. But at the same token, this is why this year is such an anomaly. It's so different than so many years past. It's so weird because here we are. We want to see, the betterment of this team. We have the pieces to the puzzle. Like we have it. Geno looks like a completely different quarterback than what he was when he was here at his first time. The defense looks like it's ready to play their hearts out for Aaron Glenn. Special teams, it's going to be special teams. And then you have the Colts, and then you have the Cowboys first round pick that could very well turn into the Packers first round pick, whoever sucks the most.
Right.
And it's like for the pro tankers, are you rooting for all 3 teams to lose? Like, not me. I can't.
I'm with you. That's the thing. You can spend your weekends rooting against the Cowboys, the Packers, and the Colts, and the Colts. Spend your weekend doing that and hoping the Jets are building something that's sustainable long term. Because no matter whether you like Glenn or not, if it's really bad again this year and you got to burn it all down, are we really trusting this group to go then get the right guy finally? Because when the pro tankers, and again, I was a pro tanker last year, so I'm just gonna be really, but I wasn't pro tanker at the beginning of the season. I was pro tanker 07. But, and I'll be honest right now, if they're 0-7 again this year, I'll do the same thing.
I'm the same. I'm the same.
When was the last time they got it right with the head coach? And that's the reality of it. So what pro tankers aren't thinking about is if the Jets embarrass themselves this year, I don't say that Muji's safe. So that means he's going to go and have to rip it all down again. And now we're going to trust the guy that we all hate as an owner, because I think his approval rating is probably 10% in the fan base, that he's going to now go and get it right. Suddenly, he's going to become Jim Dolan and figure it out. Right? And I can't believe that. I'd much rather believe that Muji is the guy as the GM who's figured it out and hope that Glenn is developed. And if he doesn't, they're not terrible enough where he wants to fire the GM, because I actually think that Muji would do a good job of building and hiring the right head coach if Glenn isn't.
Right.
My personal opinion. He comes from Denver. He understands what it is to win, how to build a team. He's been doing the right things. I'm a big Muji fan.
Mm-hmm.
So like for me, I just don't want them to be so awful that Woody wants to blow the whole thing up again. And then he goes hires people like what's his name again?
Friggin' McCagnon or Itzik.
Yeah, or bring in an advisor and let them run the process. Can we please?
No, I think I'm on board with you. And I think if it does get to that point, Muj is safe. I think he would be allowed to finally do it the right way, right? Hire his own guy. And maybe a Jim Leonard. Who knows? You know, again, do we want a defensive-minded guy?
I don't want another defensive guy if that's what we want.
I don't think anybody wants one. Or we go with someone that's already established, like a McDermott. I'm all good with that. Like, give me someone that has built something from absolutely nothing. Look at the Bills. Like, I would love to be in that mindset where we're like, you know, we're really close to winning a championship, and the guy that got us to this point might be a stumbling block. Let's get rid of him and let's get the offensive coordinator and make him our head coach. Like that, I want to get to that point.
So that's the Knicks model, right? So the Knicks finally brought in a guy that, you know, who Tom Thibodeau, who's never won the big game, but he's always been a respectable head coach, and he's built franchises. So what the Knicks finally do? They said, okay, Tom, you're the head coach. He got them to a certain point, but they felt like they hit their ceiling with him. And then they went and got the next guy, and they go and win the whole thing. Right. The Jets need to find their floor. They haven't found their floor yet. Even if Glenn isn't a Super Bowl head coach, can he find a floor that you can build on and then eventually you replace him? Or is he that terrible? And last year he was terrible. So I am not delusional. He was bad last year. And I'm hoping that maybe that changes this year, but the odds are dead against him. Like, he's probably got about a 20% chance of figuring this out. But let's pray he figures it out. And if he does, you establish a floor, you get your franchise quarterback, and then maybe you reach a point where you're like, you know what, I got to replace him. He's not good enough to get us to the next level. But at least you're a respectable franchise again. And I saw that comment. I don't think that Woody is going to keep Glenn no matter what. I don't. I think that there's going to be a point where listen, Woody he's usually patient with his coaches. He's given them more than what he usually doesn't fire people in season. Like what he did to Saleh was kind of, I think he just didn't like Saleh and he fired him. But usually he doesn't fire people in season. I don't see a world where if Glenn wins 5 games this year, he comes back and gets to draft the quarterback. I do not see that. And maybe I'm crazy, but I don't see it.
But you do see a little bit of differences, right, with Aaron Glenn. I see him more humbled.
Yes.
He's not as like an antagonist against the media. Like he's not short. I see a lot of kind of like that turnaround with Tom Coughlin when he was just all bravado and like, you're doing things my way. And the players hated that. And all of this yelling, like, here, do you remember this here? Like it happened in the preseason. And I honestly don't think this is going to happen ever again. I think he wanted to be someone else.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I see him kind of being the head coach, kind of like the defensive coordinator as he was in Detroit. He's waiting for everything to click. He's doing everything he can in the background, and he's just allowing everything to happen organically, as opposed to yelling, making a spectacle, dancing on the sidelines after Will McDonald scores. I think he's going to have an approach where been there, done that. I said this when I'm about to say last Thursday for our show. I honestly think, again, this is just me. I think he had a heart-to-heart with Bill Parcells in the offseason.
Oh, I
think
agree.
he truly did, and he asked him, how did you bounce back from year one with the Giants?
Mhm.
And I'm sure he knew the answer because he wrote it in his memoir. He wrote it. He said after year one, he knew that he was a lame duck. He was going to do things his way. And if he was going to get canned, at least there would be no regrets whatsoever. And I think that's exactly what Aaron Glenn did as soon as the season was over. He got rid of everyone.
Yep.
His handpicked guys. It looked so bad. So bad. But he didn't care. And that's where I started liking Glenn again. That part.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree with you. And I've said this many times. He's impressed me this offseason with how he's shown growth and maturity. And again, when I say maturity, I don't mean to insult a 50-plus-year-old man. I'm saying maturity in the head coaching position by how he's handling the media, how he's talking at the podium, the whole no slogans and no inspirational speeches. Well, the truth of the matter is you started the slogans last year. So I'm glad to see that you're not, this year. Like we're built for this shit and all that stuff. Thank God that's gone. What will ultimately matter is now that he is calling the defensive plays, is he game planning to the point where they actually create an actual competitive advantage or not? When we watch football every Sunday, are we looking at this going, we are at a disadvantage every week because we have the lesser of the two head coaches? Because if that's the case, then he won't have a job at the end of the season.
Right.
Right. He has to get to a point where you're watching a football game and you're going, we have the advantage. We're scheming properly during the week. The game plan is strong. We know how to make adjustments to the things that they're doing. I expect my defensive head coach to take a terrible defense last year that has added significant upgrades. I'm not asking him to be a top 10 defense this year, but be a 15 to 18th ranked defense this year, please. Like, be respectable. Like, can I at least not be embarrassed that when someone, runs a screen or a play over the middle, our linebackers don't know what's going on a play action and they just get completely beat every single time. Can we see competent football, please? Like, I'm not asking for a ton. I'd like to see give me a 7-10 season where they're entertaining. The Colts are god awful, and it's clear that we are on the right trajectory, and we just need a quarterback. I will sign up for that right now. I would.
And it's true what you're saying, because when I would see Aaron Glenn walking up and down the sidelines, it was synonymous to seeing Robert Saleh walking up and down the sidelines. No play call in front of them, no nothing, just letting the coordinators do their job. I hate that. I love seeing coaches with the playbook, with some sort of game plan. Andy Reid there, Sirianni. You want to talk about some guy like freaking on the hot seat that freaking won a Super Bowl with the Eagles? There, freaking, all right, this is what we got to do. I want to see him work.
I mean, you had Ben Johnson, the same thing with Chicago last year. I mean, like,
same thing, exact thing.
Listen, we agree. The funny thing about Robert Saleh is we thought we were getting this alpha head coach. Remember when he came over from San Francisco?
1000%. Yep.
By the second season, it looked like somebody took like his milk and cookies from him, and he was just standing there with that stone face, and he would never react. By the end of the season that Rodgers got hurt, I mean, that was when they should have cleaned house and fired him. He was done that season. Like, people forget how bad that went. I mean, like the circus environment, the whole Zach Wilson fiasco where he didn't want to come back and play, and, leaking stuff to Joe Beningo and talking game plan. And how do you survive that season? It was crazy. Right. And so they didn't have a chance going in last, because if you just think, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but they could have fired him at the end of that year and had Rodgers coming back from an Achilles on a complete brand new coaching search at that time. And it might have been a completely different story. Now, truth be told, they might have went out and got Vrabel, and God knows how that all would have went down, because if Vrabel was doing the Rossini stuff in New York, That would have been something.
Yes, exactly.
But, you know, I just, for me, it's like Glenn needs to be buried into his playbook with his players, working out things on the field. No more dancing, no more bravado, no more, you know, being cute with the media. Like, dude, just be a freaking head coach that figures out how to make this team watchable, please. Like, can we be a watchable franchise?
That's all we want, man. Listen, my man, Paul, what a pleasure, dude. It was to talk to you. We got to do this again.
Yeah.
I love the fire that you brought here, all the wisdom, everything, the analytics, everything. Dude, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can, I'm on X pretty often. So I'm at Paul Fiore on X, but at Jets Talk Now, my YouTube channel. Please subscribe. I took some time off, started a new job, and, you know, after the draft, I kind of was like laying low, but I'm back. I think I recorded 3 videos this week. I'll be doing more. I'll have some guests. We'll do interviews and probably have you on. That'd be awesome. As the training camp progresses, and I'm looking forward to an interesting season. I think this will be I'm way more interested in this year than I was last year. I am fully engaged and ready to not be a guy posting, you know, tank commander pictures on X. Please, I don't want any more pictures like that. So
I'm so with you, man. And no, it's going to be a special season without a doubt. And even in season and whatnot, even we'll have like a live play-by-play during the season. You are more than welcome to hop on, brother.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
All right. Go Jets, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Go Jets.
Later.
Talk to you.
Quarterback, Ken O'Brien of California Davis.
Just 14 that first time, now going long. They got a wide open man, and he makes the catch. It's Braylon Edwards taking off. Braylon Edwards will take it home for the touchdown. 80.
First down in San Diego territory at the 47-yard line. Big draw. And Pennington going for 6. Deep down the field, and it's caught by San